Welcome to the SME Business Meet, which is jointly organized by the SME Chamber of India and SME Business Forum in association with the Maharashtra Industrial and Economic Development Association, Women Entrepreneurs Development Council, and the Startups Council of India. Well, this dynamic networking meet will provide unique opportunities to entrepreneurs and senior executives from the small, medium, large industries and business sector, corporate, government, PSUs, and agency and startups to connect with new business partners, exchange business leads, introduction, promote brand and market of new products and services, identify potential buyers, suppliers, investors, manufacturers, service providers, distributors, franchisees, agents, strategic partners, and clients. We're talking about connectivity with the purchase and supply departments of SME large corporates to explore emerging business opportunities for supply and procurement. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bhavna Bhatia. I come amongst the top 100 women in India, and on behalf of SME Chamber of India and SME Business Forum, I welcome you all once again to the SME Business Meet. Well, with this, I'd like to take a moment to call upon Shri Chandrakant Salunke, founder and president, SME Chamber of India, Federation of Indian SME Associations and SME Business Forum, for his welcome address. Over to you.
Thank you, Bhavna. Thank you for introduction. And on behalf of SME Chamber of India, SME Business Forum, and Indian SME Associations of India, I welcome all of you at this very, very important SME Business Meet. Friends, all of you are aware that after this pandemic, a lot of SMEs are facing big problem. They are facing many issues and problems for running their businesses and operating their businesses. But we can't stop our deliberations, discussion, and knowledge sharing sessions. This knowledge sharing session is very important for each and every entrepreneur's main workforce for understanding what are the new changes, new developments happening in the government of India's, especially in Ministry of MSME, Ministry of Finance, especially in the banking sector, and of course in technology level. Today we have invited Sri Ramakrishnan, the Deputy Director of Office of the Development Commissioner, Minister of MSME, to share his views on particular lean manufacturing and the advantage to SMEs. Friends, we are aware that Honorable Prime Minister has already announced that we want to put efforts to make all MSMEs global competitiveness. And this is the main theme we have taken today. We want to support SMEs, those are into manufacturing, to adopt the advanced technology, patented technology, in affordable technology, because most of the SMEs are not accepting or acquiring the latest technology because of the funding, because of the not allocation of the funds. But somehow we want to educate, we want to support them to understand what are the facilities, what are the schemes, what are the the arrangements made available by the government. Under the dynamic leadership secretary, MSME secretary, Mr. A.K. Sharma, nowadays we are seeing lot of changes, lot of developments happening in the ministry. They are doing follow up with the banks to provide the the funding on time, fulfilling the requirements of the particularly to supply in government PSUs, and also they are resolving the issues and problems particularly for MSME sector. Those are rural area. Currently, we know that a lot of SMEs are facing problem for the supply chain management. Many SMEs are not getting raw material on time. Many SMEs not getting funding on time. Therefore, we have invited Mr. SSP Roy, DGM and Zonal Head of Mumbai region of Indian Bank. He will be joining very shortly to share his thoughts about what will be the impact of this post moratorium and how the restructuring will be useful for them. So with these words, I am on behalf of SME Chamber of India, SME Export Promotion Councils, and Federation of Indian SME Associations. I welcome all of you, the viewers and SMEs. I suggest all the SMEs to take advantage of the support services available made by the SME Chamber of India. Connectivity, connections, building relationship, building that partnership is the most important now. We are virtually talking, but we want to come together to enhance our business activity. During this pandemic, I know a lot of businesses are shut down, a lot of businesses are facing problem, a lot of businesses are not getting the labor, and most of the lot of businesses are facing problem because their orders are cancelled. So SME Chamber of India is committed to support SMEs for their business growth, expansion, and transformation. With this word, I'm thankful to all of you for joining for today's session, and I welcome Sri Ramakrishnan, Director, Office of the Development Commissioner, Minister of MSME, to share his views on the lean manufacturing advantages to SMEs, and of course, you can highlight few of the schemes which is useful for the SME sector. Floor is open to Mr. Ramakrishnan. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sri Chandrakant Salunke, Founder and President, SME Chamber of India, Federation of Indian SME Associations and SME Business Forum. As he rightly called, now it is time for the keynote address by Sri Ramakrishnan, Director, Office of Development Commissioner, Ministry of MSME, Government of India, on the topic of lean manufacturing advantages to SME. It's a privilege, sir, to have you on board, and thank you for joining us today. Over to you.
So today I am going to talk about one of the important topics, which is lean manufacturing, which will lead to the competitiveness of SMEs. So first, let me share some of the things about lean manufacturing. Then I will talk about our schemes. So now I am sharing my PowerPoint. The topic today is the lean manufacturing competitiveness scheme, which is coming under Credit Linked Capital Subsidy and Technology Upgradation Scheme of Office of DCMSME, CLCS TUS, under Ministry of Micro, Small, Medium Enterprises, Government of India. So first of all, let us see what is this lean manufacturing competitiveness. So today, what we are going to cover is what is lean, why lean, and principles of lean manufacturing, the goals, types of ways, lean tools, steps to achieve lean systems. And finally, Ministry of MSME is helping by way of financial assistance and otherwise for this SME sector. Lean is a systematic approach of eliminating waste so that every step adds value for the customer. So this is all about lean. So there are two key things here. One is we talk about value, and another thing we talk about waste. So what is value? Value is a capability provided to a customer at the right time and at appropriate price as decided by the customer. So for giving this value, one has to adhere to the competitive cost and quality and delivery. So these are the key things one has to keep in mind while manufacturing or providing any service. Then, what is waste? Waste is any activity that consumes time and resources or spaces but does not add any value to the product or service. So this is a waste. So as a manufacturer or as a service provider, it is our duty to eliminate this waste, which does not add value to the customer. So what are the principles of lean based on which you can achieve this? So first of all, one has to define the value from the customer perspective. For this, he has to identify the value stream and then make the process flow chart, and the pull should be from the customer side, not from the manufacturer should not push product or service in the market. The demand should come from the customer side. And the manufacturer or service provider, he has to head towards perfection in his process of manufacturing or providing service. Of lean. First one is specify the value. So the value should be specified from the standpoint of the end customer for the product family which is being manufactured by the producer. Then identify value stream. What is value stream? Value stream is a series of activities which leads to the end product, right? So while identifying this value stream, one has to eliminate the waste wherever possible to create value. So through this value stream mapping, one has to create a flow of activities in a sequence so that it will flow to the customer. And let the customer pull the product through the value stream and not the push system. Two systems, one is push system and pull system. The pull system from the customer demand, and the push system is the manufacturer produces in a bulk and he tries to push the product in the market through various advertisements and marketing techniques. So this has to be a pull system. Then finally, one has to seek perfection. So how do you do the perfection? So this values, through this values analysis, one can identify what are the defects in the process, and one by one he has to eliminate those defects, and finally he has to try to achieve perfection. So there is no perfect thing in the world. So we always try towards the perfection. So as a manufacturer or as a service provider, one has to always improve his performance so that it leads to perfection. Now, what are the goals of Lean? There are 4 goals of Lean. First is to improve quality. Second is to eliminate waste. And third is to reduce the manufacturing time. And finally, to reduce the total cost. So, customer always wants the best quality at affordable cost, at the right time and at the right place. So this will happen only if you eliminate the waste. So a lot of waste activities occurring in any manufacturing industry, so it will add to the cost, and the final end product cost also will go up. So what are the types of waste? There are 7 forms of waste which is provided in this slide. In short, it is called tin wood. The first one is transportation. So normally what people do, they do unwanted transportation of material inside and outside their factory premises. So whenever transportation is taking place, it adds to the cost. So you have to carefully analyze what are the transportations happening inside and outside the factory, and try to keep only the necessary transportation and eliminate the unnecessary. So this will reduce the cost. And secondly, inventory. All of us know what is inventory. It is a stock of material in raw material form, in process form, and finished product stage. So in each stage, when the inventory goes up, it leads to increase in cost as well as your interest cost also. So we all know there are various ways to keep this inventory at optimum level. There are scientific methods to calculate what should be the inventory for a particular product in a factory. So we should adopt which is the best method for us and try to keep the inventory to the optimum level. And then motion. This motion is again a movement of employees inside the factory when the process flow is not scientifically employed. So we should also analyze what are the movements happening among the employees and try to eliminate unwanted movements. Then waiting time. So if you carefully analyze in any shop floor, the material will be waiting for so long without adding any value, without or getting transformed from one form to another. So this again leads to inventory of material in process. So this has to be reduced again. And then overproduction. So some of the factory owners, they produce a lot of goods anticipating future demand. So this will lead to lot of fund getting employed. And so overproduction should be avoided, and scientific method of demand forecast made, and only whatever you should produce according to that. That is why initially I told there should be a pull demand, not the push. So this pull will decide how much you should produce every month, every week, every day. And then over processing. So some of the manufacturers, what they do over processing. They give more quality than wanted by the customer. So this will again lead to increase in the cost, unwanted cost. So one should not try to over process the material, and they should give only whatever is required for the specific purpose and by the customer. And finally, defects. So defects are the products which do not conform to the specifications or expectations of the customer. So the defective products will not be of any use to either to the producer or to the customer. So this will again lead to the addition of cost and final product price. So one should try to avoid the defects in process and also the final stage. So these are the major 7 types of waste which one should try to eliminate by carefully analyzing and avoiding in their manufacturing or service process. These are some of the tools which are available to achieve lower cost by eliminating the waste, which were explained in the previous slide. So let us see one by one. The first one is value stream mapping. As I told you, you have to map your activities which are happening in your premise. Then only you will be able to identify what are the waste activities occurring in your factory premises. So one example of value stream mapping I have given. A lot of things are available in the Google. You can search through the Google and find out any one which is suitable to you. So when you do the value stream by sequentially doing these activities, so you can identify activities which are not adding value to the product and which are the activities adding. So you can analyze carefully, and one by one you can start eliminating the non-value adding activities and only keep the value adding activities. So what are the non-value adding activities? Those are not required for the business, and value adding activities to the product and service. Common factory, if you take, there are 80% non-value added activities and 20% are only the value added activities. And under these non-value added activities, there are some unavoidable non-value added also, which you have to keep in order to protect your products like your packaging materials and other things. So, but we should, as far as possible, try to avoid these non-value adding activities. This technique which will add value to your product as well and avoiding mistakes. Work is clean and in order. So you have to sort the materials, set in order a place for everything and everything is placed, and keep everything clean by shining and standardize. And it is not a one-time work. It has to be sustained every day. Well, so whenever very technique. So you have to provide material at the right place and at the right time. So nowadays people are want just in time. And real improvement. This is process. So this is an incremental approach. So whatever we do today, tomorrow we should try to do it in a better manner. So this thing, as well as service sector also, you should always strive to continuously improve your production process so that you move towards perfection. And material management, as I have already explained, this is inventory management. So whatever material you are using in raw material form, in process form, and
we can, Ramakrishnan, we can have a question answer with you because we have a few questions from our participants received, and that's very relevant and very important.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're right now at the SME Business Meet, which is a dynamic platform for business networking of India. And we just got done with the keynote address by Sri Ramakrishnan, the Director of Office of Development Commissioner, Ministry of MSME, Government of India. He'll be coming back for his Q&A in just about a few minutes. Meanwhile, we'd request now the solution expert Mumbai Tata Tele Business Services, Mr. Sushil Kumar Patil, to kindly join us online on the SME Business Meet. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you Mr. Sushil Kumar Patil, the solution expert, Mumbai Tata Tele Business Services. And remember, this webinar is going live on WebEx, Facebook, YouTube, and SME Chamber of India's website. So stay tuned. Do let us know how you're liking the webinar. And also, if you have questions, we've got Chandrakant, the man himself, out here. We'll be happy to take it forward to all our incredible speakers, our esteemed speakers who have joined us. Over to you, Mr. Sushil Kumar. If you're around, if you can just join us. Mr.
Sure.
Sushil Kumar.
So currently, basis of observations, we have identified 4 challenges: setting up communications, staff productivity, data security, and the compliance. So setting up the communications, right? Currently, if you see, traditionally you're working at offices. There you have your own desk. You have the landline numbers associated to that desk, wherein from those numbers you get communicated to your customers which are there. So you do not personal number to be showcased to the end customers. Staff productivity, getting the dashboards of, the productivity, how much work you have done, how you can track the work which has been evaluated. Security of the data, working from home, using your broadband connectivity or a 3G, 4G hotspots, how you can ensure your data is secured through this connectivity, and the compliance. Compliance which adds, whatever the discussions, the business communications which you are doing onto the phone. All those are recorded and those audit trails are being maintained. So these are the 4 pillars where, most of the SMEs which are there, we are facing challenges while enabling work from home and ensuring that their workforce or their employees are adhering to the work from home protocol which is there. For all the CTOs of the company or the technical consultant, they have the 3 things or the 3 wherein they think about the contact center. How do I set up a distributed contact center quickly on the cloud? How can I, mask my calls or ensure that my are not been able to be shown to the end customer? And the third thing, as the face-to-face interactions have reduced, people are working from home. So how do I ensure that I can have a better connectivity and a seamless connectivity with my customers? So answer to these 3 questions is our solution, that is a cloud-based or a hosted IVR solution. On the screen itself, we see end customer or your customer, the loyal customer, who will be able, to connect to our IVR, which is on our premises, and he will be able to connect with the respective departments, either the sales department of a company, your support department, or a billing department, and help to resolve his queries. Plus, this platform which is there that ensures that you get the analytics of each at the same time recordings of conversations which has been happening between your end customer and your employee which is there. So this is a great solution for the cloud-based solution for current and the future, wherein the employees are geographically apart. They do not need to be at all the time. A discussion of these 4 four features which are there. So as this is a cloud-based system, it has customer connect, a dynamic routing, call hunting, and analytics. Agents can receive the calls on their mobile phone, either sitting at the home, or if they are traveling also, they can get the calls, the end customer calls onto the mobile phone, a dynamic call routing. On this service, we give a web portal through which you can manage the termination onto the respective employee's mobile number or a landline number. Call hunting, wherein within the department there are several employees. The employees get the calls and ensure that whoever the customer is there, he is able to connect with your employees at any time of the business hours. Then call hunting features is available. Analytics is wherein you can track the performance, durations of the call. If there are any calls, you can pull out from the reports and you can recall, so you can ensure that entire business continuity is maintained. So there are 5 steps wherein any of the entrepreneur or a SME, CTO or a technology consultant can you want a cloud-based solution, design your IVR, how you wish to greet the callers when he calls to your number. To design an IVR, you want a single layer IVR depending upon the number of departments. Pick a number in the end number can be a toll-free number or it can be a normal 8-digit number. Publish your number across your base and view all the call reports. So 5 simple steps through which you can get subscribed to the hosted IVR services. In front of your screen, this is call flow diagram, wherein if you can relate my earlier discussion, this is a toll-free number which is being published across your customer base. So your end customer dials this number, call hits my form, this distributing from my 2 different data centers. For north, it is in Gurgaon, and for the south, it is from Bangalore. From these 2 data centers, I am able to subscribe this service or distribute this service to the end customer. The customer gets a welcome message, he's been greeted, followed by an option through which he can select the various departments. Either he wants to have a query with the sales team, either he has grievances in support, or he wants to talk with an operator. Basis of that, he selects the options and he is able to connect with the intended employee of that department. Discussing how this will happen. So customer or your end customer, you can dial toll-free number or a normal 8-digit number. That call fits our platform in our DC. There is no physical hardware is required at any customer premises. The which he selects, and the department is being connected to the agent or employee, and the call is dispatched. Wherein there is end-to-end communication which is between the employee and the end customer. Suppose that customer wants a second call, or he wants to call on the second day, so the agent can dial 1-800 number or a toll-free number, connect to my platform on the cloud. From there, the number of the agent which is he will be getting a dial to which platform and get connected to the end customer, and he can have a long discussion, fruitful discussion on here. So this is how the bi-directional, how my platform as an IVR works for the inbound as well as for the outbound calling. My number of channels. So for any given call for inbound, there will be 2 channels which has been occupied. One will be the call platform will be dialing to the agent which is there, and both calls will be patched. Well, the message will be a greeting message. A person, the end customer or the existing customer dial this platform, he'll be greeted with the welcome message. IVR levels depends upon your business requirement, how many departments which are there, and if there are any sub departments, then probably you need IVR level 2. The transfer is easy, seamless thing where it ensures each and every employee receives your calls within the department, and customer is not waited too long in the call which is there. Call history reports backed up with the history reports which says the call, which gives you the callers, the number of callers, the time, the duration from which call it is. It gives a timestamp. Plus, we can pull out the voice recording from the portal. So with Hosted IVR, we provide a portal, web portal, through which you can pull out the reports. You can hear the voice recordings. You can store these voice recordings for maximum 45 days. We can store the recordings onto our cloud. Prior to that, you need to download those recordings onto your devices, onto your storage devices for the for further requirement as such. Portal to change the numbers. From the same portal, you can change the number. There is an option to change the audio prompts or the welcome messages basis of the festival time or basis of the offers which you are running of your business. You can record the messages and upload to the portal. Our platform will update it, and from the next call onwards, the messages will be prompted. Out of office hours, if your office hours are between 9 to 6, then the treatment to the caller will be either through a message or it can be transferred to a number wherein he can serve this call. If required, if the recordings, if you are required, if you want us to do, then there is a professional services, additional charges will be required. Basis on the case-to-case basis, we will onboard such type of a requirement. These are the 11 features with such a good product on a cloud. So use case which is there, this was, I would just give a short gist about it. Customer had a problem wherein he was receiving the calls directly onto a mobile phone. So what we suggested was, as he was losing the business, because on a mobile phone, you can get a single number, the other number is on waiting. So his end customers, if you were trying to call, he was getting busy. So he could not cater or he could not serve more and more customers. So due to which his customer satisfaction level, which was there, that was diminishing. So what he was apprehensive was to put money onto the additional services or additional hardware which is there. So we convinced him through our solutions by giving a demo of our solutions, that is of Hosted IVR. This is a purely cloud-based and it is an OpEx model wherein only the services charges you are to be borne on a monthly basis. Rest on the hardware piece or on the servicing of the hardware, you do not need to invest as such. He subscribed our services. Basis of that, he founded our business. He founded his business grow in leaps and bounds because he was able, to cater more and more calls. As due to IVR, the calls were easily diverted among various departments. So each end customer was able to get a satisfactory response. At the same time, they used to get their queries resolved, and that's how his business increased. So this is, a fruitfulness and beneficiary of using the hosted IVR services. This is Aricent is one of, I would like to put across one of our case studies wherein Aricent was looking to switch from desk based. They had IT supports from desk based during the COVID situation. They were, the IT support was also working from home. They wanted something on the cloud wherein, across the globe and the domestic users, they were able to connect to this IT team. So what we found is discovered was provide a support on a 24 hours basis into 2 time zones because there was east zone as well as the west zone. So basis of that 2 zones, that 2 groups will form and there were different numbers so that a single group of IT were not able to from end users. We designed 100 groups into the hosted IVR basis of the timelines which is there. For morning shifts between 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and for evening it is 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. We deployed the IVR as it was a cloud-based services, so there was nothing physically deployment or physical person going onto the customer sites and for deployment. So we deployed within 10 days. Further that we had a benefit of what the customer get. The benefit was they because business continuity during lockdown because they were able to online get connected at any time, whichever time zones his users or his employees were there, they were able to connect with their IT team and they were able to resolve that issues on a faster time. So due to which the IT team got a better employment satisfaction numbers, and this is how the services, which is an efficient and cost effective, help Arisent in serving their employees more and more. So moving on to our another product into this portfolio, which is the hosted outbound dialing services. This product is predominantly for a voice broadcast, just like an SMS broadcast across the various users or your customer base. This is a voice-based broadcast through a cloud-based platform. So this platform works on a 5 simple steps. Create a campaign. You have to create a campaign for the promotion or for the transaction messages to be broadcasted across your customer base. Upload the contacts, whatever the customer base which is there. You need to upload the contacts through a portal. Upload the voice files basis of your requirement and the duration of the message. You can create the voice files into .wav format, and that needs to be uploaded. Schedule the campaign. The campaign can be fortnightly, monthly, weekly. It depends upon how your business requirement is and how the messages has to be broadcasted across various regions within a single state or a multiple states, and start the campaign. So in 5 steps, easy steps, you can start a campaign and you can run and keep on ticking around. So what are the use cases? Which are the segments which have been beneficial due to it? We have broadly identified 6 segments which are there. That is banking and financial, insurance companies, hospitals, political parties, service industries, and government. So banking and financial services like payment reminders, lead generations, customer feedbacks about the bank instruments or banks certain policies which are there. Insurance companies like premium reminders to their subscribers. So twice reminders or thrice reminders depending upon how frequency of the reminders has to be set. Cross-selling and upselling of the policies. Customer feedback, how better we can create the policies. For hospitals, yes, it can help in for appointment reminders. The specific specialists, they are the patients which are there. They require for them, if they have an appointment, you can give you can broadcast this voice message that you have an appointment with Dr. X, Dr. Y, which is there. Follow-up calls, after a certain time, you can set a follow-up call for that patient so he can visit the doctor and get the treatment. Patient feedback is like feedback about the hospital staff which is there, the hospital management, the doctors which are there. So that also can help improving or creating good services for the patients which are there. Political parties, that is election campaigns, promotions, awareness campaigns, enrollments and registrations, wherein you can broadcast these recorded messages and people can listen to them, and they and in short it is like mouth publicity or the promotion of the party during the election campaigns, and the awareness campaigns which are there for certain policies which are there. Service industries, service scheduled service calls, that is the fridge engineer, the fridge repair engineer or AC repair engineer is going to visit to your house today by 6 p.m. So the reminders can be set 1 hour, one day prior to it, to the intended subscriber which is there. Payment reminders about the AMCs which has been pending, service feedbacks. So a lot of usage which are there, which in the service industries can be uh, done by our services which are there. Government is like emergency announcements specifically to pandemic. If specific announcements has to be there. If there are something a storm is going to come, so you can in advance you can broadcast this across to specific areas. This product is specifically used wherein you cannot reach where you have to reach the target audience within less number of time. So therein where this our services can help in to broadcast the voice messages. Moving on to our next services is international bridging services, IBS. Now IBS is a solution wherein people working from home, they wish all the organizations which employees are working from home, but still they have their they have their customer base which is globally. So for them, international bridging services plays an important role, wherein country like India, where there is a legality of not extending the voice connectivity till the office, unless and until if you are an OSP license holder or you have a certain licenses wherein you can adhere to it. But what about the enterprises who have a size of employees of 50 or 20 odd, and those do not qualify for those licenses? For them, uh, enabling an ISD onto mobile will be a costly. So for them, it is international bridging services wherein a company can subscribe for all the employees for this international bridging services, and they can distribute it across number of them, wherein they can use a controlled way of calling internationally and only specific to the business calls. So what features it comes, the feature pack which comes with the international bridging services? It optimizes the ISD cost, secured calling, because this is a password protected ISD calling. So whenever the employee has to call our platform, he has to provide a password. That password gets authenticated. Second, that number which is there, it has to be whitelisted. So these are the dual factor authentication which happens into our platform. Basis of that, it recognizes that this is a legitimate employee and he has to get a dial tone, and basis of that, he can, once he gets a dial tone, he can dial out globally any of the destinations which is there, A to these destinations. Simple to use, as employees can call from anywhere, as this is a cloud-based services. Second thing, the access number is a toll-free, so he can call from his mobile
Mr.
number, his
Patil, can you
home
speak
land.
loudly?
Yeah,
We
yeah,
can't.
yeah.
Your
And
voice is very low. Hardly we can
privacy.
hear from you.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
Mr. Patil, just in the middle now and
Hardly
then a
we can
little
hear you.
bit.
Just your voice. Even
See, I'm talking I'm on a loud noise which is there. I'm
no, just
completely
speak
talking
loud.
on a high mode. I'm talking loudly only. I'm talking loudly, sir. So privacy is protect
Okay,
privacy
okay.
of
Go ahead.
employees'
Go ahead.
personal mobile number by masking it onto. So what privacy, what we get it for the employee's personal mobile number is not being displayed. So wherein end customer, he is not able to see the personal number. He is able to see my platform number which is there. So that ensures the privacy of the employees. We move on to the use cases, international bridging services. Now, everybody must be aware about the NRI branches, that is specifically to banking. Employees are provided with an open international calling dialing which is there. So to contact the NRI, because they are the personal bankers to non-resident Indians, and they have each of them has a personal, or set of people have a personal bankers, where on a day-to-day basis where they need to connect with these customers for their transactions sitting abroad, and they need to do it with the banks which are in India. So tracking of individual DEL number was next to impossible. So there was no control, and there was a lot of misuse of international calling which is there. People used to call for their personal numbers. So what we suggested was our international bridging services, which is built in toll free plus SIP onto our platform. Everything is onto our cloud which is there. Nothing is on the premises. The employees, the organization does not has to worry about it. Dual authentication, whitelisting of the mobile number as well as the PIN, that is a password which is here, numeric password which has been given to control frauds and misuse. Daily CDR reports, we give a web portal through which you can pull out the reports to track the daily call usages. And it's a wholesale platform, so anybody can use at any time. So this reduces cost by eliminating the need of billing as the facility, as it's everybody, there is a single billing which is comes, reduce individual cost or dependencies with direct billing facility. So individual does not has to go for a separate bill. So for an organization and for a set of people, there will be a single bill which the organization has to pay. So these are benefits wherein you can control the misuse of the company assets through which international bridging services. Now we are moving on to the collaboration services. Now, collaboration services is something unique about our services. So, what are agenda of discussion for this collaboration? Current business reality, need for collaboration tools, collaboration solutions from TTBS, and conclusions. So, current business reality, most of the people are aware that the yesteryears which were that the type of jobs were the desktop jobs or the mobile jobs, that is a sales force which is there, or a desk jobs wherein you have your own desk and you work from your 8 hours, 10 hours depending upon the company timings which are there. Now it has been, there is a paradigm shift not because of the COVID, but current technology upgrades which are been happening, and emerging technologies which are coming. So work from home is becoming now a reality which is there. So business challenges which are there, how do employees continue to collaborate? But still, work from home, if you go for it, there are challenges which we have figured it out. How do employees continue to collaborate? Meetings with the customers, how they can be able to have a seamless meetings, how there will be reviews which are there, how there have been reviews which are there, employee engagement and development, how there will be the trainings, how I can develop my employees. So these are the four challenges which every organizations or every entity has to face. Need for collaboration tools itself is four factors which are there. Wider reach, wherein your team is geographically apart and they need to be connected onto the same platform. Enhanced productivity, that is connect quicker through a virtual meetings with colleagues, partners with a snap of time, anyway, anytime. So that is enhanced productivity. You don't have to travel at least. Learning and development. At the same time, you have to ensure that your staff which is there is being competent enough to handle the digital world which is there, or the latest challenges which are there, how they can enhance which is there. So learning and development has to be there, and reduce the carbon footprint by saving the cost in travelings and everything to minimize the traveling. So these are all the factors which trigger to go for the collaboration tools. The types of meetings broadly classified was like reviews meetings, on the fly, on the move, that is connect through VoIP or audio conferencing. You are moving and traveling and you are having meetings, online meetings, just like what we are doing right now, sharing the screen, present the files. Large audiences in the sense of broadcasting across major audiences or large audiences, and there should be no geographic barriers which are there. So these are types of meetings where there is no geographic barriers. How does my web conferencing service help your organizations? Want to connect multiple people at the same time, want to be present virtually without being physically present, and conduct reviews and record meetings. So these are the three major aspects wherein wherein my web conferencing services can help you to achieve all the 3 points which are there. So the answer is TTPDS audio and web collaborations. What are the features of it? We'll discuss one by one. Unlimited conferencing. There's a fixed price, fixed monthly rental for a domestic international. That is monthly rental you have to pay. No additional charges. Participants at any given time, 125 participants can join in and get the benefit of the conference. Wide reach, that is internationally dial-in access across 80 countries. So domestic and international audiences can be on the same platform and they can be having a discussion on the same point which is there. Feature rich and secure, that is file sharing, chat, record and replay meetings on the fly onto my platform. So this is my my platform is compatible across the desktop, the meeting room, on your tabs, your mobile apps, Outlook add-ins. If you want to send a request through an Outlook client, my platform, you can integrate it and you can send the meeting request to across all of them. Web conference services, personalized meeting room, so accommodate participants, simple, easy to use interfaces, flexible audio connections. You can use your phone or you can use your computer audio to connect. Instant meeting access, frictionless meetings, entry from any browsers. Any browsers you take it, Fire browser, you can take Opera Mini, you can take it any of the Google browser or Internet Explorer. Any of the browsers you can access. Content shared made easy. Recording and sharing on the fly. Industry leading support. Redefined mobile experience. So these are lot of features which comes up with my web conference services. Now this is a screen view, how it looks. A simple and intuitive meeting room experience. This is on the screen. If you see, this is the screen wherein you say on the left hand side there is a list of guest names which are there. On the right hand side there are thumbnails wherein each and everybody can see the faces of the meeting. So currently we are we are able to see 12 people at any given time. through the screen which is there. All in one console, that is, all your audio mute and unmute, your camera which can be on and off. You can share the thing, share your files, a single file or a complete desktop. You can do a recording, and a very user friendly interfaces, which this is a URL based, which is there, wherein you can be able to collaborate with multiple people. Share your screen, as you will be able to share the single complete screen which is there, or you can share the file across to the audiences. You can select which files to be done, document 3, a phase 1p, a Word document, or you want to share the URL. So that's how that flexibility which you get it by sharing the screen through my application. We'll like to take 2 case studies onto my services. Some of our customers which are there, the happy customers are Spencer. So Spencer is a new Spencer is a retail-based industry, and it has a wide chain of retail outlets across India, which is there. So Spencer wanted to have a daily collaboration with their sales team, and with the phone, they were finding it difficult because some of the phones that were they were not reachable, or probably they were busy. So they were finding it to at any given time to gather all the outlets and have a discussion and do a review onto it. So we suggested them our services, that is audio web conferencing services, and basis of that, we successfully ran through a demo. We showed our capabilities, our product features which are there. Basis of that, they qualified us, for these services, and they are now subscribed our services, and they are happily using our services. Another is State Bank of India, the government PSU PSU which is there. So they wanted to review the sales team daily performance. They wanted a solution by which they can have audio and web conferencing. So we proposed them our domestic offerings of audio and web conferencing, which comes 999 per month, and they could do an unlimited conferencing. So they vetted our services. They used our services for few days. Basis of that, they subscribed our services, and they are finding it pretty much helpful for review mechanism, and getting understanding about the businesses, what are the challenges about the sales team, and how they can figure it out. So I'm done from my presentation. I'm happy to have questions from your end. Thank you so much.
Okay, Mr. Patil, thank you very much. Mr. Patil, can you tell me one thing? How this SME sector, particularly small or medium sector, can afford these services, particularly the group services? What will be the costing for that? Because I got one question immediately, that if they want to avail these services, what will be the cost?
See, the cost
group
for
services.
Yeah. So the cost for each services are different, and there are and these are quite affordable costing. As I said, it is a cloud-based model. So we have worked on the OPEX model. If anybody is interested on the commercial aspects, please drop your number. So our account management team will get connected to them, and we can have a complete discussion. And basis of their requirement need, we'll be proposing the solution and the commercials to them.
Okay. That will be great. We will definitely send some leads which will be received.
Perfectly. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ramakrishnan, the question to you, two questions we received. One is, some manufacturing SMEs are looking to acquire latest technology, patented technology. So what is the special scheme for SME sector, particularly for a patented technology? Maybe the technology may be very, but any special scheme is available for that?
Sir, there is one scheme called IPR scheme, under which we are giving reimbursement for the expenses incurred towards the obtaining patents, GI registration, and trademarks. So for these three activities, whatever expenses are incurred by the MSME sector, we are reimbursing their money towards the registration. Yeah.
Mr.
Yes.
Ramakrishnan, another question is there. If any company wants to have a joint collaboration or a particularly technical alliance, how the Minister of MSME can help? One question came from Chennai. He is into automotive industry, and they are talking with the one German company for technical alliance. They said, why don't you approach your government? The government will give you some support, and then we can start the deliberation and then a discussion for take forward. What is your answer for that?
As of now, we do not have any scheme for technical collaboration as such. But if any MSME unit wants to upgrade their technology from the current technology, then for acquisition of the latest machinery, government is providing some subsidy with credit also. So up to
Subsidy.
2 crores they can avail credit facility with 15% subsidy. That is under CLCS scheme we have. But just for acquiring a technology alone, I don't think there is any scheme as of now.
Okay, because most of the SMEs in India, they rely or they depend on the consultant. There are plenty of consultants. They started their own shop, but some consultant doesn't have a proper knowledge about how to handhold, how to give the guidance to going for acquiring the technology or because they can't go for be a big four companies. They go to a smaller consultant. Can we suggest, Mr. Singh, our development commissioner, to set up one unit or the consultancy system in our ministry, where suppose if I want to go for a joint venture, if I go to for any particularly technical alliance, the minister of MSME can just give a guidance. These are the guidelines, these are the guidance, and these are the system where you can have a collaboration, because most of the companies failed for showcasing their capabilities. I found that one pharmaceutical company, they have started collaboration discussion with a Japanese company. Ultimately, they said, no, you are not eligible according to our requirement. So that is the most important question come up. What is your answer on this?
Sir, you can do that. Right now, I can suggest you one thing. There is a MSc CDP, I think you are aware of, Cluster Development Program, under which a lot of technical collaborations, technical know-how, buying technical know-hows can take place, but it is for a group of industries, not for individual units.
Okay.
Suppose there is a cluster is there and they want to upgrade their technology as a whole for the whole cluster, they can avail this service under this MSc CDP. But as of now, for individual units, it is not there, but you can always suggest for formulating new schemes. So that is always possible.
Now, another member has suggested us that why not we can organize one exclusive webinar on different type of schemes and incentives and advantages of Minister of MSME, particularly from DC office. That I will come back to you through Mr. D.K. Singh ji or Mr. Anand Sherkane with you. Okay. Thank you very much for your sharing knowledge and thank you for support. We have some questions are coming up. We will share with you by email. But we will require more guidance and support to MSME sector, particularly for technological development point. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Friends, SME Chamber of India is supporting a lot of SMEs now, and those SMEs are looking for particularly banking finance, looking for private equity, venture capital. If they are looking for particularly support for development of their businesses, not only the country, we can support you. We have different types of the trade promotional bodies like India, Europe SME Business Council, India, Japan SME Business Council, India, Africa SME Business Council, India, Japan. We have India, US SME Business. Through that, we are working with the concerned countries. With the concerned countries, we have a developed good relation with the importers association in that country. We have some connectivity with the companies those are looking or buying a product from the Indian SMEs. Now we know that because of the Chinese goods are not coming properly, many SMEs are facing big problem for particularly fulfill their requirement. So we are also supporting SMEs to identify exporters from the abroad, for which they can we can provide the quality product, competitive cost, and of course genuine supplier. Because most of the SMEs facing problem when they buy a product from the any supplier. Sometimes the quality is not good, sometimes the quantity is not good, sometimes the cost is very high. So there we are also supporting. Also, we have a SME Talks platform where we are inviting SMEs to share their thoughts, share their experience, and share their knowledge, and as well as mentor SMEs, mentor startups, mentor young and women entrepreneurs, particularly for business growth and expansion. And I'm sure that this platform will be very useful. Of course, we do a lot of training programs, particularly on the business management, financial management, marketing, development, branding. And most of the companies are not doing branding and promotion because of the lack of the funding, lack of allocation of the funds for this particularly. But through group marketing and through jointly joining the SME Chamber of India, definitely useful for them. I think Mr. Roy is still stuck up for some meeting. Let us invite Ms. Vanessa to speak, to give a presentation on her topic.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, now we have Ms. Vanessa Pereira, Chief Catalyst, where the box topic is going to be the Business Communication and Leadership Development Program. So, Vanessa, huge welcome. Thank you for joining us today at SME Business Meet.
My pleasure, Bhavna.
Over to you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone, and looking forward to having the next 15 minutes with all of you. My topic for today is I'm going to share with you some leadership lessons. Bhavna, if you can confirm, can you see the presentation?
Yes, Vanessa, I can see it.
Fantastic. Okay, so I've chosen a topic very close to my heart, which is sharing leadership lessons with all of you, because all of us are on the anvil of the growth for Make in India and for being Atmanirbhar Bharat. So I thought the best thing that we can do is power you with some interesting leadership lessons, which will help all of you grow the SME sector into the next big growth that we're looking forward to. So I think everyone knows that on Independence Day, while we did celebrate our 74th year of independence, we also got some very interesting news that at the sunset of 15th August, we had MS Dhoni announce his retirement. So I thought, why not use this opportunity and let's look at some of the leadership lessons that we can learn from our ex-Indian captain, who has been one of the most iconic figures in the Indian cricket scene. So let's look at some of the lessons that we have from him. The first one that he's known for is master your strategy. So we always believe that performance leads to recognition, recognition leads to respect, and respect leads to power. Economic performance in India is the key to India becoming powerful at the global stage. And Mahendra Singh Dhoni has been the most successful cricketer captain in India. And looking at all of you, you all are our next stepping stone into success, especially in times like this. And all of us need to focus on mastering our strategy, especially that we've been given this time where we've got to reinvent the wheel. We have to look at different strategies, different ways, and different means. So I think all of us should look at this pandemic, this period, and how can we use this time to master our strategy. Look at your existing processes and how can you reinvent it? How can we use your existing resources to do something different, something new in your current space, to look at maybe look at a new line of an existing option that you have, an existing process which you can reinvent and make that better, and that could mean doubling, tripling the revenue for your team. So that's our first lesson. If you look at Mahendra Singh Dhoni, he was also very well known to craft a grand vision and articulate it. So one of the key traits of a leader is first you have your own vision in place, have your vision statement. What do you want for your organization? Put it across with pride. When he as a captain would lead us into victory, it was him who would stand right there in the center and strategize with the batsman, with the bowler, on what the next move should be. We all remember those moments when we think, okay, is this going to be a hat trick or is this going to be another six that he beats the bowler for? But then you have Mahendra Singh Dhoni coming in. So be there with your teams, strategize with them, and be part of that. So that's our first lesson from Mahendra Singh Dhoni, which is master your strategy. Once you have your strategy in place, then everything else will fall. But that's your first step towards being an effective leader. Yeah. So leading into our next point, I think we all know what Mahendra Singh Dhoni was extremely well known for, which is being Captain Cool. Yeah. So stay cool. Times are tough. Times are difficult. You have challenging moments. You have your stresses. You have employees. In this time, we had an interesting presentation on how do we work from home now and how do we look at doing everything digital. So this this one screen that we have in front of us is now our office, and you have to stay cool. You have your you're working at home with your family. You've got your other daily life happening all around you. You no longer have the comfort of your factories, your offices, your units, and you're not in the game, but you've got to stay cool. You've got to keep calm, because if you're not able to maintain your balance in this emotional area, everything else goes for a toss. So containing your emotions is extremely important. Uh, it's okay to showcase your emotions. So we're not saying you've got to smile all the time. So balancing your emotions is extremely important. So one little tip that works for me and for most of the CXO level of people that I've worked with in my one-on-one coaching experience is, when you're dealing with something that's difficult, say you have an employee who's acting difficult, or say you have your clients, you have your customers who are hounding you for an issue, the best thing that you got to do is you ask yourself one question: is this in your control, or is this something that is out of your control? It's something that you cannot manage. Is this something that cannot change even if you scream, or if you react, or if you express yourself in a loud manner? So ask yourself that question. If it's in your control, and then you reel yourself back in and ask yourself, what can you do in this situation? Give it your best, and then you take it forward from there. And that's the success. That's the mantra to staying cool. So emotions are not bad. Emotions are good, but figure out or ask yourself in that moment: is this in your control, or is this something that the situation is kind of controlling? So really, you give in your best and leave it at that. Okay, the next thing that Dhoni is extremely popular for is being there in the game. So I know that with coronavirus, everyone is saying, don't keep your hands dirty, wash your hands, sanitize your hands. So I'm giving you a different message today. I'm saying dirty your hands. And what do I mean by dirty your hands? Get involved, get in the game. If you analyze and if you look at him, Mahendra Singh Dhoni, as a player, so he was wicketkeeper, batsman, bowler, captain, strategist. He donned all hats. He wore different hats, and he was able to use all those hats very effectively and get his hands dirty, get in the game, and that's what took him forward. So if you look at, say, one of our greats, which is Sachin Tendulkar, he was a great, absolute great player, one of India's best. Having said that, he couldn't excel in captaincy. He couldn't, wear the hat of a captain successfully. So what makes Mahendra Singh Dhoni very successful as a leader? Now, as leaders, we have a whole lot of uncertainty. We don't know, like the era that we're in right now is one of our greatest uncertainties. Having said that, for sure, he could handle every role that he was in. He was 100% focused. And he got his, when I say dirty your hands, I mean be involved in every process. So talking about when you, in your day-to-day schedule, look at your tasks, look at your customers, look at what your goal is, look at how can you maximize it, and be involved in knowing everything. You have to get down into the processes to understand the very core or the very heart of it. So you have to wear all the hats in your organization to ensure that your hands are dirty. No problem, wash it later, sanitize it. These days we've been doing it like 100 times a day. So that's fine, but get involved. Know what your team is doing. Check on them, especially now in the digital world when it's getting extremely difficult to, kind of focus on communication. So coming down to, your communication as a leader, today it's 100x more important that you communicate with your team more effectively. So in our the era today, to understand this terminology, dirty your hands, earlier probably would mean walk around, get to know, spend time with them, but we don't have that luxury today. So in today's terminology, what I would say is be connected with your team, understand what they're doing, understand what everyone's challenges are today, be available to help. Because when you have a strong team internally, it's only then that you can success as a company, and then that goes forward at a national and then a global level. So it's very important that you stay together, just like the palm of your hands. एक साथ रहिए, and it will be the next step for you to be a success. So that's my last point for you. So a very simple funda. MSD, Mahendra Singh Dhoni. M is master your strategy. S is stay cool. And D is dirty your hands. And these are my tips today for you to be an effective leader and communicate effectively with your team. So thank you very much. That's all from me.
Thank you. Now, captain become cool.
Absolutely.
So MSD become a cool because he has retired from the cricket, but not retired from the active activities. Maybe
Absolutely.
he's joining very shortly politics or maybe in business.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Let's
Or
see.
he could announce
Sir,
the opening of a
Yes.
company. You never know.
But good subject you have chosen today for the showing Dhoni. It's a favorite for everyone. This is a current, rather a current subject.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're just trying to join in with with Shri SSP Roy, DGM and Zonal Head, Mumbai Indian Bank, on his topic. And thank you so much, Ms. Vanessa, for joining us on the incredible
pleasure.
topic of Business Communication and Leadership Development Program. That's
is at 4:15 because of my sudden engagement. I beg excuse to that you allow me to join 1 hour, 1 and 15 minutes late. So sorry once again. See, it is my
No
pleasure.
problem. Bankers, if bankers are coming late, no problem because banks are always helpful to us.
No, thank you, sir. Thank you for this compliment. But really, in between, I joined at 5 o'clock, so I was listening on some technology issue, and again coming in. So, sir, it is pleasure for me to join this elite group who they were discussing many of the things on the issue. I have been told to develop on the issue of the role of the banker in this MSME and SME sector, and particularly this role comes into very important spots when we this COVID pandemic situation. The entire country is passing through a difficult phase, and we know our MSME is exporting, is almost contributing to the half of the export, and the recruitment they are giving around 12 crore workers. Towards this GDP, their contribution is 29%. In other words, I can say that MSME is in fact running blood into the body of the country for economic growth and employment is concerned. Now, the role of the banker is very important because three components are involved. That is, one is the supply chain, other is the demand chain, and in between the supply and demand, we are falling as a MSME entrepreneur and the banker as the link between these two. So, sir, our role is to holding the hand of the MSME and going hand in hand for all the progresses, all the development, what MSME always look for to a financier as a financial partner. If I will speak on behalf of the Indian Bank, I will say that our bank and our honorable MD and CEO is very proactive And we are having a separate vertical for MSME at corporate office level, and our Indian Bank has come out with a concept of processing center for all the MSME proposal at one place. Mumbai is operating with 2 processing centers, and the entire proposal is being sourced to that processing center, and we are adhering to the turnaround time for any financial assistance to the people who they are looking for, because time is a very important thing for MSME. Now, what are the products we are having? We have a slew of the number of products, depending upon the requirement of the SME people, starting from micro to the small and medium enterprises. The definition for which has got recently changed, and this MSME Act 2006 has got revised, and new MSME definition has come into the picture from 1st July 2020. Now this 1 crore investment in capital investment and 5 crore turnover is a micro unit. Then 10 crore investment and 50 crore is the small unit, and then again 50 crore investment up to 50 crore and 250 crore turnover classified as a unit. And the government has come out with a lot of facility, I should say, for facilitating our MSME and generating the employment in the country. This you all are you have witnessed this labor issue, and reverse migration of the labor was a big challenge in this COVID scenario. For it to train all those laborers and to generate the employment is one challenge for the MSME entrepreneur. At the same time, keep themselves afloat during the lockdown period is the another challenge. These challenges have now been met by the help of the government, putting the financial in the sense that whatever the government has come out with a package of 3 lakh crores, government guarantee additional facility to the MSME people to soaring up their working capital. We are staying there as an intermediary, particularly the PSU bank, and being a proactive partner into the financial system. Indian Bank was first few bank who they have launched this COVID emergency loan at the very beginning with a different kind of product features, and subsequently government came out with a 3 lakh crores of government guaranteed cash injection or financial injection to the MSME partners, where we have come out with the emergency loan, that is the 20% of their funded exposure as on 28th or 29th February. And it is a very liberal loan, very easy loan at the lowest rate, you can say. And that loan every MSME people can avail. Rather, we are outreaching to each and every existing borrower. The condition is that all those are the existing client of the bank, let it be any PSB. They must have some funded facility, and there must be outstanding in the account on 29th of February, and loan should have not gone into the SMA category. But what I mean to say, there should not be any overdue more than 60 days. All those are the eligible candidate for getting the financial assistance. So that financial assistance is being given very liberally, and we are very proactive in that regard. My request to all of you is that this facility they should avail irrespective of their requirement, because apart from availing this money, I hope this money will be contributing to their capital build-up, and that capital building up will be without any tax. If after this corona, what is being expected, that all the sunrise sector as well as sector like pharma, cement, and food processing, logistic, all these things are going to bounce back to their original shape, and we are sure that there will be a V-shaped growth. So my MSME entrepreneur, my partner who they are into the business, they must be very positive for this bounce back. And at that point of time, if any capital is required for enhancing their limit or working capital limit, this will be a booster kind of thing in their balance sheet. When I was interacting with many MSME entrepreneurs, people who they are flushed with the cash, they were not willing to take this facility. But this is one of the cheapest and you can say very liberal loan one should avail for building up of their capital. It is 20% of their funded limit, which was outstanding as on 20th February. Apart from that, if I speak on on behalf of Indian Bank or say any PSB bank, in our Indian Bank we have the another facility where we are giving 10% of their total exposure for the assistance in addition to this 20%. So they can avail both the facility. This 20% facility is, but 10% will be covered by the security. We will be taking charge on all those security. So altogether, this 30% of their working capital assistance, I think, is the big assistance to come back from the retardedness or the slowness what they have observed during last 3-4 months. Here we are playing a very active and vital role. Apart from that, all MSME products are there, all financial assistance are there in a different set, even including for capex, including your working capital, including your encashment of the receivable. There are trade receivable discounting system that is called TREDS platform is available, where the large corporate buyers, their bill can be discounted at a very cheapest rate, easy rate. That facility is there. We will be available for the new entrepreneur for providing them loan and working capital, and the government has launched this PSB 61, where in principle approval is being given online if they will be applying on the platform. The requirement is that only you should have the Udyog Aadhaar number and you must be GST registered. So as a banker, our main role is to come out with these financial facilities to them and guide them for taking the better decision. As a journal head, whenever and wherever I have worked, what I have found that my MSME entrepreneur are since scaling at the lower level, say 100 crore or 200 crore, which now coming under the definition of MSME, it has increased the horizon for banking connection. My request to all of you is that you are supposed to maintain few of the papers, and if all those papers you are maintaining and available on requirement to the banker, bankers are readily available to hold your hand and support you for your financial need. Because we know that this MSME will grow and it will remain in a floating situation, country will also grow. Then our role is to contribute at the end of the day the money to the required people. Because after this RBI's few of the policies, bankers are flooded with the cash, and we want that entrepreneurs should come forward and take the money for their future growth. Now, I would like to emphasize on one thing. Normally, when stress occurs, banks used to reach to the customer or to their borrower for repayment of the loan. But the good thing is that now we have got some restructuring window for the stress account. Loan up to 25 crore, there is one facility given by RBI, which is available till 31st December 2020 for getting their account restructured and manage their liquidity for future payment and revamping of the business. And on 6th August 2020, RBI came out with another circular in the backdrop of this ongoing pandemic and COVID, that loan above 25 crore, 25 crores in MSME sector, CRE sector and personal sector can be restructured, and this restructuring window again will be available till 31st December. So despite this assistance under emergency loan, if somebody feels that my business will be taking 2 years time to revamp or to come back to the normal position, this window is also open for them, and it is being very liberally done by all the PSBs, depending upon certain criteria. Again, the criteria is that when you are approaching for this cutoff date and restructuring, there should not be overdue for 30 days in the account. Your account must be standard. RBI forbearance, 6 months interest, non-payment and installment non-payment, which was to you, that will be accounted for and the account will be restructured. So funding as well as restructuring and rehabilitation, these are the two models we are following for the assistance, and our role here is very important. Apart from generating their market, how we are generating the market, because bankers are ready to finance to the end users, consumers. I mean, we are financing the housing loan, we are financing the personal loan, we are financing vehicle loan, we are financing every kind of needs of customer. So that money which is going to the end user or consumer, that is creating, in other words, you can say, the demand in the market. So banker is also responsible, and our role demand in the market, because then only this MSME will be able to cater their demand. So this forward integration is also being done. Now coming to the backward integration for MSME, government has taken many steps. The interest subvention is there. In many of the states, there are the interest subvention for capex is there, and for their working capital also is there, like Madhya Pradesh, I hope in Maharashtra also. So that backward integration and funding from for generating working capital and taking the raw materials and goods, we have many kind of facility for exporter, for an Indian manufacturer or indigenous producer. We are giving them the working capital as well as forex credit or other credits at the cheapest rate. So that will be the back-ending integration and the forward integration and financing where the need is there. So being a financial partner, our role is to cater the entire requirement of my business MSME fraternity. And this bad situation which has come now, it will be over by hope by another 5-6 months. And after that, we are expecting a very good and bullish growth. Hopefully, as a banker, we will be able to stand by. From my side, since I am not carrying any, whatever thought process was there and facilitated in brief, I will be asking if any question, particularly for banking requirements, please let me know. I will be able to probably satisfy the question. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Rai Sahab, I always say that, if bank is there, SMEs are there, and if SMEs are there, then India will grow. India will achieve the $5 trillion US economy because of only SME and because of the banks. There are three questions. Right? Let me ask you one question. One very interesting question is that one company is enjoying 80 crore loan from Bank of Baroda from last year, and from the October onwards, they don't have a proper business, but they are serving their interest. And the person, the branch manager, inform him that your account is NPA. Is it true? How this can be managed? If he is serving interest, but there is no turnover.
Okay, if it is a working capital loan, and he is able to service the interest, and up to the extent of that amount, there is transaction in the account, as per RBI prudential norms for definition of NPA, it should not get classified as NPA. Okay. Then there are certain 2-3 other criterias are there. Apart from this servicing of interest, if there is no stock or the something deviation has been noted in the stock audit, then in that case, the bank may take a call or their auditor may take a call that this account should be classified as NPA. So it will be a very particular case, or it will depend upon the overall nature of the financial discipline of the account.
For example, Roy Sahab, he said that he has a stock and the debtors also not paid his money for last 6 months. And after this pandemic started from the April onwards, last up to June, he couldn't done a good business. Earlier 6 months there is no business. Now 3 months there is no business. But whether his drawing power is going to reduce or the account can be restructured.
Yeah, as you very correctly told that their debtors receivable is now old for more than 6 months. His DP will definitely will go down because all those old 6 month and old receivable we will discard from the calculation of the DP. Naturally, his DP will bound to come down than the earlier DP. But we have one resolution for this, that we should go for the restructuring of the account, and whatever DP is coming and whatever percentage of business is carrying out, accordingly we should work out the working capital limit, and rest of the working capital limit may be converted into term loan, provided there should not be any sacrifice. If the sacrifice will be there, then because that will be again paid in 5 years with the giving moratorium of 1 year, and that rate will be lesser than the rate what he is charging. So it will be wiser for both bank as well as the person concerned. In my opinion, this is my personal opinion.
Okay.
That go for a restructuring, because this RBI forbearance of 6 months has given avenue to restructure it. Otherwise, it would have been got classified into NPA much earlier.
Okay. Another very interesting question come up now from the one startup. The startup is providing services to manufacturing industry from the last 6 months. And he said, I have done business more than at least say like around say 75 lakhs. Since the government has included startups as a priority sector currently, whether they can go for collateral free loan because they are not an old business. They are not running their business for the long time, but 6 months business. But he has done 75 lakh rupees turnover for last 6 months, and he is supplying or is supporting to large, medium, and SMEs organization. So
Yeah,
he said
definitely.
that whether if we can, he said, if I can present the project report for next 3 years, whether I will be eligible for some collateral free loan under the CGTN.
Yeah, that is the role of a banker. Here our role must be very proactive. And you for all a startup, greenfield project and others, if they have come into the business with their own capital, it is our role that we should support them. Amount may be different depending upon their projection and realistic situation is there. But yes, CGT SME gives a coverage up to 2 crores, and under CGT SME this loan can be done. And the liberty is that under CGT SME now hybrid security has also been made possible. So the primary security, that is stock as well as plant and machinery from where they are operating, that will come under security as primary security. If he is having another security, he may offer, otherwise up to 2 crore it is covered under CGTSM.
Okay. Another point, now after this moratorium, say for example, last 3 months there is no business, last 5 months there is no business, much business, hardly 10% people are coming for a job. And he said, my member is from Thane, he said, if the moratorium is over, and if even though we will not get a receivable from our clients, because most of the large corporate also you had seen they are in loss nowadays. They are showing loss in this June. So after moratorium, what will be impact on the the SME sector, and whether this moratorium can be extended till December or any generally, because in banking sector there must be discussion. We don't want that 100 crore, 200 crore, or 500 crore, because I'm also pursuing in the Ministry of Finance and the RBI and the Prime Minister office that at least the relief can be given to the MSMEs, those that are having the loan up to 50 crore. What is your comments on this, sir?
See, RBI has come out in tandem with the government decision and policy with enough relaxation. And this RBI has given 6-month forbearance from March to August, that is available as of now. I don't know whether it will be extended or not. That will be a prudent call from the RBI and the government. But even in this given scenario and situation, the entrepreneur is having enough room and headroom and tools, enablers you can say, to straighten their messy issues, I should say. that during this 6-month forbearance, this emergency loan is available. He can avail that emergency loan, provided his account was not in SMA 2 category as on February. That means there should not have been any overdue for 60 days plus. If overdue was less than 60 days as on February, he can avail the emergency loan. My point is that by this emergency loan, if revival is not possible, he can inject that money for giving the life to the loan for another 3-4 months by putting that money into the loan itself. This is my out of way suggestion, practical
Okay.
suggestion.
Okay.
But secondly,
So,
the restructuring window is available. If he is confident that within 1 year my business will survive, I will come back, then he should request his banker for getting his account restructured.
okay.
And there will be the moratorium, there will be the practical approach based on his cash flow. And accordingly, the amount which is over and above the working capital requirement, as you narrated in DP and the stock, everything, that will be carved out as a WCTL, and the interest will again be served through funded interest term loan for 1 year. I think that will be the best respite to him. It depends upon the call of their banker and the person concerned, that how he is utilizing the business down the line for 1 year and 1.5 years.
Okay.
But
Final question. Final question to you. One member has suggested that he is into manufacturing of engineering products. He has a stock, but now because of the raw material supply is not proper, so almost 80% stock is over. And he has supplied to most of the companies, but they have suggested not to issue an invoice, just send a delivery challan and make the invoice next month because they don't want to showcase the inventory. So somehow he is facing problem because he can't show the turnover and he doesn't have a proper stock. So when the bank will ask for submitting the stock statement as well as debtor statement, so it will impact to his drawing power. So whether bank is going to give some relief, particularly for next 3 months or 6 months, that the drawing power cannot be coming down, because restructuring ultimately we can say giving injection to the patient, or give he is a ill person and we have to give a medicine for that. So I know that this restructuring will not be impact on the civil record or all these things, because since the government has announced. But how this will be useful for a MSME sector, that the drawing power should not be reduced, and the stock and settlement, let them give a relief for next 3 months to come on the track. What is your comments on this, sir?
What I understood from your question, that raw material supply has got obstructed.
Yes.
He has certain inventory that he has, now it has become X factory, but he is not releasing the invoice, maybe because of some understanding between his buyer and between him. Point is that if he has not shown it as a X factory, because he has not created or generated any invoice, so that he can produce before the banker as his stock, because that has not been technically sold, if I am right, because he has not issued any invoice and the money has not come back to you. It is not technically sold. It can be said that this stock has gone to my client's warehouse and it is there, and bank may give a relaxation, but of course the charge will be extended to that stock which is lying with their client's warehouse. That is inbuilt kind of thing. And if he'll be issuing this invoice after a month or so for getting the payment from their borrower, the buyer, it will be better. Then again, this realization will be there. If the realization comes, naturally the limit will go down, and I hope that he will go for purchase of the raw material also from that proceeds. So there is chances of revival, because goods is there, good is in demand, the buyer is available there. We may consider up to 2-3 months time, but of course, taking it as the stock is in the warehouse B instead of A.
Okay, thank you. So there are at least 650 viewers are now watching our this discussion, and I request all the viewers and members, SMEs, businessmen, entrepreneurs, startups, take advantage of the banking facility, especially from Indian Bank, because the Indian Bank is my bank. So we want to support SMEs, those are needy, those are looking for funding, those are looking for support, because Allahabad Bank and Indian Bank merged together. And this bank is very, very supportive. They look at the smaller thing about the SME sector. All the officials, including Mr. Roy, Mr. Gupta, earlier also Mr. Patnaik or Mr. Raut, they are so kind. They take a call immediately and they support each and every time to our members. And particularly, I suggest all the entrepreneurs approach bank, because banks are supporting SMEs. Without bank, SME will not grow, and without SME, India will not grow. With these words, I'm thankful to you, Mr. Roy. But while ending your speech, give a one-line message to SMEs on particularly coming next 6 months' time, how they will survive, how they will revive, and how they will transform their business. Please.
My one-line message will be there: have patience. The future is bright, and we are staying with you to make your future brighter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your time, and look forward to see you again, and look forward to meeting you again on the webinar or on different subjects. Rather, next time we want to focus more on trade finance. It's very interesting because export finance is a difficulty facing by a lot of my members. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
for giving this opportunity.
Bhavna.
Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Shri S.S. P. Roy, DGM and Zonal Head, Mumbai, Indian Bank, on the topic, role of financial institutions for empowering SMEs. Well, we hope you had a great viewing experience, and what an incredible address that was. And I'm sure each and every member is going to be benefiting it, and each and every viewer which was looking out for that answer got that answer. Once again, thank you so much, Mr. Roy, for joining us. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with this, we now move on to our final session of with a very incredible lady leading from the front, Ms. Pallavi Lodhia, the founder and CEO of Arika Pila Enterprises LLP, on the topic business and working facilities for SMEs at Pune. So thank you so much, Ms. Pallavi, for joining us today. Over to you.
Thanks, Bhavna. I'll just share my presentation. Yeah, can you see this?
It's still loading. It's still loading. Yes, I can see now.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. This is Pallavi Lodhia. I, along with my two partners, we have started our co-working space in Pune. When we started this business 3 years back, it was very different concept, and there were many people who did not know about this. Now also a lot of people know about it, but there is still a lot of confusion about why co-working space, what exactly it is, and I would like to answer some of the questions along with how it can help the SME members. So first of all, what is co-working space? So the organizations, when they start growing, they start looking for an office space which is required to for their employees as well as to host their clients. So co-working space is a serviced offices where you get all the services, all the professional services for your organization and employees. So when we go for service departments along with the house, we get a lot of other services. It's exactly the same way in terms of offices. When any organization starts growing, they kind of have to look for the office space, thinking the 5 years growth plan. Like if there are employees which are going to be added, then they have to consider that upfront and take the office according to that. They have to sign the lease agreement for 5 years, 3 to 5 years. And along with that, when they take the space, they have to make it ready so that the employees can work. They have to spend for furniture, they have to spend for the internet, the wiring, like for electricity or internet, and all those things. So all those things you can, and that requires a lot of investment. All those things you can avoid by having a professional office space in any co-working space. We at Share a Space expect at least 1 or 2 years of commitment and not the least longer lease periods. At the same time, you don't have to invest in the dead space thinking about your growth plans. You can just hire the space which is required at this point of time. The ramping up and ramping down of the team becomes very easy in co-working space. And the most important things is you don't have to invest anything to set up your office. You can spend that money in your core business. That becomes really helpful for any company which is starting. At the same time, you need to have a team, or there is a headache to manage that office space, to kind of talk to vendors, manage those vendors. You can just relax and focus on your office space by giving all those responsibilities to us, and we can do it for you. So it becomes very convenient to have an office space in a co-working space where you save your money. At the same time, you get all the professional facilities where you can host your clients at any point of time. There are a few more advantages apart from those which I just mentioned. You get a lot of people whom you can network with. There are a lot of communities to whom you can turn to if you are facing any issues. If there are any requirements where you don't want to hire an office space for months or years, you can hire it you can have the flexibility to hire the office space only for a week or maybe for a days or hours as well. Apart from that, there are a lot of events which keeps happening in the co-working space through which your employees can be benefited, and they will stick around with you for a longer period. So all those things becomes a package for any organization, and it becomes really helpful. These are a few of the advantages, and when we say even though these are shared offices, okay, our setup is such that you get your working area as a separate for your organization. We call it as team cubes. So if you have a team of 2 people to 50 people or 100 people, you can have your separate working areas where only your team will be allowed. Okay, so that's a perfect security for your team ambience, for your team members. So working area is a separate thing, but there are few facilities which will be shared amongst the companies or the organizations who are part of the co-working space. Apart from these team cubes, we have managerial cabins, meeting rooms, board rooms, training rooms, even the event spaces where you can host anything, whatever your activities are. Apart from that, your employees can spend some time in cafeteria with tea and snacks and with some board games or with some other games like Carrom and all. So that can rejuvenate them, and that gives them the happiness to work for an organization which have all the facilities and ambience. So when we say serviced offices, what exactly you get as part of this amenities? We give you air-conditioned workspaces, the very high-speed internet, reception services, security for your employees through access control, CCTV surveillance, for rejuvenating them, cafeteria, breakout area. So all those services, you get it under one roof. You can always invite your clients and provide them this professional ambience to make the correct impact. We only expect that you just get your laptops and start working from day one from your office. It takes very little time to start your operations when you get onboarded. Along with this, we also support you in case of any other additional services are required for your business. We have our vendors and we can connect you with them to get the services at a reasonable rate. So the whole idea of this concept is that you focus on your business, everything else can be taken care by us. Your money and time is well spent on your business rather than managing other non-core services. These services can be used by any offices where it can be used by back offices, it can be used by IT BPOs, it can be used by desk jobs for the manufacturing organizations. So it can be used by consultants. So it there is a space for everyone in the co-working space. These are few of the pictures which can give you some idea about our co-working space and how the professional ambience which we talk about. I'm open for any questions if you have any.
One question arises from one of the member from Mumbai. He says if we have to start office in Pune, so are you giving any COVID package, any reasonable charges?
Yes, so we for SME members we have decided that we will provide the social distancing part without any additional cost till December, and you can definitely avail of that offer.
And are you giving any special discount to SME chamber members? Those
Yes.
will be joining, approaching you.
So as I said, we are definitely giving you social distancing where you get one seat between the two employees, and you're not going to be charged for that till December. And at the same time, we will give you 10% discount.
Okay, so friends from the SME sector, those are doing business in Pune or those are going to do business in Pune, and those looking to do some activities in Pune, they can approach Pallavi for particularly using supply and equipment. So this is very interesting and very useful presentation by you because all the SMEs, particularly from even the manufacturing, even though in a service sector, they do not have a proper arrangement for a setting office because when they meet any client, outside client or any other client, so this is a good opportunity to use your services, share a space, co-working space. And we would like to inform all the members, this is our partner organization, company, and we are supporting them to get more business through our connectivity. So with this word, I look forward, my members to approach you, particularly to take advantage. Thank you, Pallavi. Thank you very much. Now coming to the point about, this today's webinar, we are now looking for more questions, more suggestions and recommendation from government. The friends, those are listening, those friends are those joined later on after, when we put this our video on the YouTube or Facebook. I suggest to share your, thoughts or we can say issues and recommendations. I'm going to present Government of India, particularly Minister of Finance and Prime Minister, that the moratorium period should be enhanced till the December or 31st March, because the moratorium period is going to over by this 31st August, and after that there will be a lot of issue will be arising. So I'm going to suggest government and RBI on this matter. With these words, I'm thankful to all of you for giving very, very valuable inputs, and particularly from the Ramakrishnan ji, SSP Roy, because this was very interesting. One from technology part, one from banking part, one from technological development part, communication building. Third from the mentoring session like a business ethics, business development, business transformation, and most importantly, how to be cool doing your business. The Captain Cool has given the message that how you will be cool even though in pandemic. So this is a very interesting, and of course, the Pallavi has given very, very interesting talk and a presentation on the facility for the setting a business, and using the co-working space. Thank you very much on behalf of Chamber, SME Chamber of India, particularly Tata Teleservices Businesses, and on behalf of members. Bhavna.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, with this, we come to an end to the SME Business Meet, which was organized, which was a digital dialogue organized, a dynamic platform, ladies and gentlemen, for business networking in India. Well, we're looking forward to having many more engagements like this, wherein you benefit. You are the reason why we are curating such content for all of you. As Sri Chandrakant rightly said, is that he's looking forward to getting more knowledge to the viewers, getting your answers questioned, and also ensuring that the moratoriums are instead from December going on as a request, which he will personally put forth to the Government of India till March. I wish everyone a very good day ahead. Thank you so much for joining in. And on behalf of SME Chamber of India, I, Bhavna Bhatia, sign off for the
Thank you.
SME Business
Bhavna,
Meet.
for giving a very good anchoring and very, very interesting. Let me announce one very interesting thing. SME Talk Show will be planned on 29th of August at 5 o'clock, where 5 or 7 entrepreneurs are going to share their views, share their experience, and share their expertise, especially for the MSME sector and particularly for startups and young and women entrepreneurs. So friends, stay tuned and join again on the 29th August, particularly on the SME Talk Show, which will be run by Bhavna Bhatia. Thank you. All the best to you.